Welcome to Haters Guide Part 3 of the ACSA 2020 season. Today we'll be looking at the Rocky Mountain Conference. The best way to describe this conference may be high-powered offenses and air raid attacks, and not really a whole lot of defense, but we'll get to that later on. Just a heads up that I do not own the ACSA series, but JohnJake Gaming. If you want to check out part 3 of his team reveals, a link will be in the description, along with his main channel. I also have the idea of the Haters Guide series from UrinatingTree. A link to his channel will also be down below. With that in mind, let's get to these teams in the Rocky Mountain Conference. The Alaska Beluga Whales are one of a handful of teams that run the ball in the Rocky Mountain Conference. They did get some improvements in offense and defense. Darius Unji and Terrell Clifton, both underclassmen that can provide a punch to this Alaska team. A very run-heavy team with this core, but also have a good junior tight end in Termin Thomas with good blocking and okay catching. He is a big boy for the Beluga Whales, standing at 6'8". If he was not playing football, I could totally see him being the next Zdeno Chara in hockey or a very good basketball player. However, the defense is not slacking either. They have two solid defensemen in Blake Clancy and Oluskuni Honusa, both juniors. They also got a solid freshman in Lonnie Hall from his high school highlights. Looks to be a great run stuffer and great on blitz packages, though his speed will need to improve in his time in Hoona. While the Whales are starting to get the pieces together, the question will be, can they get over the hump? The Northwest Division is looking to be as challenging as ever, and with some of their opposition loving the West Coast and even air raid offenses, it could result in some games being the Whales getting beached on the shoreline. The head coach that came in to fix the Rattlesnakes have made some impressive moves to make Colorado Tech more respectable and not a punchline like they used to be. Just like the Whales, the Rattlesnakes have two of the biggest running backs in freshman Wiley Finko and Eric Burt. Burt will definitely be showing him some of the skills before he graduates in May. The line on both sides of the ball look good as defense gets a new weapon in Nick Bryant, Miles Zakari, and Luke Shaw on offense. Both should give them the extra push that was a bit missing a year ago. Shaw should also fit in well with Daytona Foch and Tanzel Noland, as the line looks young, but have the horsepower to get the firsts on their back. While the offense is looking like it should be formidable, it is the defense that can get these Snakes by surprise. They just don't seem to have the bite to take down some of the stronger offenses in the conference. When George Fox University bought a new campus, a former Bruins player wanted to bring the air raid offense that made them dangerous. GFU Eugene has lived up to that like their Division III counterparts. Jordan Bach and David Roper are a dangerous combination for secondaries to deal with. The offensive line is looking to be under the leadership of sophomore Naheem Dodd and give Roper enough time to air the ball out. From spring camp, Braxton Burgess and Dion Lewis were some of the most competitive when lined up against each other and can start in week 1. While the Bruins may not be in contention for the conference title this year, expect them to be in a few shootouts and possibly get some upsets. From the Pacific Northwest to the paradise that is Hawaii is the Hawaii A&M Sharks. This could be a team that can compete for the conference title. They have so many options for junior quarterback Charles Birch, the big guns in the wide receivers and Cam Ferber, who looks good at the high school level. He has some good speed and endurance, but still looks raw. He can learn a thing or two from Terrace Hall,
who is coming off an impressive junior season. You cannot also count out Kenneth Sandler and Quincy Love. While there is not a lot on the defensive side of the ball, Quandre Phillips is looking to come off an all-freshman performance. He will once again be the jaws of the defense and make life a nightmare for quarterbacks in the conference. They have a really impressive offense, but a semi to non-existent defense, so this team may live and die by the shootout. Staying in the state of Hawaii, we see their rivals in the Hawaii State Roughwaves. To match their rivals in the state of Hawaii, they have a wide receiver in Cody Wooten, who has a great speed and excellent hands, something that can be important in close games. Another wide receiver that the Roughwaves can rely on is senior Lamar Mitchell, who is just as potent as Wooten. Sophomore Sony Miller is looking like the starter after many questions were asked about the starting quarterback, as their heir to the offense transferred out of the ACSA for family issues. Chris Rosen looks to have improved compared to his freshman year. Hopefully he does not get burned that often like he was a year ago. However, his work outside of the football field in donating money to poverty-stricken families in the area is admirable and can be respected. Kicker Sean Jeffrey looks to be an NFL player with a very strong leg. Overall, the team looks like they could compete and be one of the fastest teams in the Rocky Mountain Conference. Heading back over to the continental United States, we go back to Oregon and look at the Lake Oswego Ironmen. This team looked like they could win the Rocky Mountain Conference. This is reflected by the roster that the Ironmen have assembled. Leading the offense is Blaine Ruggs, a senior with good speed and also very intelligent. The Ironmen will be looking to find his replacement in recruitment this offseason. Another weapon will be that of Marcus Clement. Clement, despite being a freshman, is looking like the fastest running back in the conference and has very few things to work on in order to start on Sundays. But when he gets space, there is very few people that can stop him with his speed. Another member to look at is linebacker Nick Stanton, a Canadian product that has transferred well to football. Lake Oswego also has a solid defensive backs in Willie Barrett and Greedy Kenson, who led the Rocky Mountain Conference in interceptions a year ago. The defensive line is also controlled by a 1-2 combo in Level Goodwin and Jamie Desnair. Overall, with the way this team looks, it has a great balance between offense and defense, and if the Ironmen play its cards right, could be a top team at the end of the year. The Cardinals' glory years of contention have finally slammed hard in their face. It has some okay players like Ricky Counts, who looks like it could help with the Cardinals' rebuilding efforts. Stephon Wolfs needs a bounce-back year after what was a very disappointing freshman campaign. If he fails again, he may not be the answer for Marbleton. If there was a bright spot from last year's disaster of a season, it was that of Morgan Golden. He had some good runs throughout his freshman year. If he can avoid costly turnovers, he can be a player that can continue to give hope to Cardinals fans in Wyoming. Besides that, it may be a rather harsh season once again. If they could beat Wyoming State, though, they will be happy. Heading back to the state of Hawaii one last time, we see the Pacific Tech Tropics. Despite the bright uniforms they have a bright future ahead of them to back it up. They got the big tuna on the West Coast in O.J. Lee, a fast wide receiver that can make spectacular catches. Watching high school state final film of him, he looks like a generational player for the Tropics. The Tropics also have some good defensive players like Chauncey Ray and Dawson Madison. that look to stop both the offensive passing and rushing attack of the Rocky Mountain Conference. Taco Ruffin, who after committing to Pacific Tech legally changed his name because he loved tacos so much, will have to protect fellow freshman quarterback Keneal Turner. However, just because the team is young does not mean they do not have some veteran options for Turner to pass to. He has junior Jarrett Ruliff and Marcus Camp, who have proven to be reliable as well. This team may be young and inexperienced, but they could be dangerous for teams to play this year.
From Hawaii to the Golden State of California is the Palo Alto State Blue Jays. The team will need to rely, like many in the conference, on their offense. Leading the nest will be Deron Robles. He has a good arm to throw the ball and is pretty good at being a pocket passer in the conference. The worry is that of his trenches. While Joe Ariel looks good, there are not a lot of good Blue Jays that can give their quarterback time to use that weapon of an arm. The thing that makes Palo Alto famous is their wide receivers. Where to start? How about Derek Tapko, who has a pair of fantastic hands? Lance Moody, a new acquisition, who brings some speed to the Jays. And veteran Simone Coleman, who can scrap for extra yards after the catch. This is not to also discount the contributions of Alex Johnson and Austin Smith, who can make good catches as well as seen from spring ball. While they have been 5 deep on wide receiver, there's not that much on defense besides linebackers Ryan Walker and Leonard Frazier. This team looks to score a lot of points, but will also give up a lot of points as well. While many in the Rocky Mountain Conference are looking to compete for a title, the same cannot be said about Southern California Tech. It will be another year of rebuilding, but there are some good players on this team. Mike White is considered to be a day one starter and can have an immediate impact for the Shamrocks. White is a running back with good speed and agility as he joins a group of good running backs like Mark Greenidge and Jimmy Roberts. The three may rotate to see who can be good in which packages. Trent Duke looks to be a serviceable tight end. He may get some more recognition if he has a breakout year. If not, some fans will consider him a disappointment, if not a flop. Bruce Hall will be the leader who has been around through thick and thin for the Shamrock team and motivate the offensive line to keep pushing forward. The big gamble will be on George Holcomb, a freshman quarterback who is being thrown right into the Wolves. I hope to be a bit optimistic, but this could get ugly and fast. The offense may turn out good, but the defense needs to be addressed right away in recruiting, as many that Southern California Tech were hoping to get did not see their vision and commit elsewhere. The Syracuse State Lakers look as though it will be a forgettable season for them. There is a really good trio for them at the wide receiver position, with senior Jordy Butler, sophomore Eric Owen, and new acquisition in Dean Wiggins. The Lakers will need to rely on this three-headed hydra at wide receiver if they want to be competitive this season. However, there are some issues in Utah. First is that of the defense. Oh boy, it's atrocious. The only key player to keep an eye on is Amir Sorgahan, a freshman linebacker who could help out in the front seven. The big issue is that of their quarterback, Malcolm Rogers. 2 years ago, he was expected to be the savior that the Lakers needed. He has brought nothing but disappointment to Syracuse State. As a result, many believe that the coach for the Lakers has a very short leash on Rogers. If he wants to avoid being benched, Malcolm Rogers will need to have a breakout season, though I would bet on the former rather than the latter. This may be a long season for Syracuse State. The last team to go over in the Rocky Mountain Conference is the Wyoming State Cowboys. Jaron Oakes is a very smart student heading into Cheyenne this fall. While he may be very intelligent in both the classroom and the field, he will need to improve on some of his other attributes as a pocket passer. Oakes has some good options to pass to, including fellow freshmen Terrence Harvey and Damon White. He also has a junior wideout in Patrick Jones, who is a good catcher for the Cowboys. The offense also has a good line in Romeo Savory and Keenan Hanvey. Vito Waz looks to continue controlling the defense after coming off a good season in his freshman year. This will be a young team with dangerous weapons that could surprise a few teams in a few years. My prediction for the Rocky Mountain Conference comes down to the tale of two divisions. On one hand, in the Northwest Division, it is pretty much almost set in stone. I have George Fox Eugene in last, followed by the Alaska Beluga Whales. The 4th through 2nd are all the Hawaii teams in the order of Hawaii State, Hawaii A&M, and Pacific Tech, which makes the Lake Oswego Ironmen win the division. In the Mountain Division, there is going to be a wide open but also fascinating football and conference play. In 6th, I see Syracuse State Lakers, along with fellow rebuilders in Southern California Tech Fighting Shamrocks, and the Marbleton Cardinals. Numbers 3 through 1 are going to be hard to pick, and honestly, you can argue any of these teams could win the division. But I think Wyoming State will finish in 3rd, Palo Alto State in 2nd, and Colorado Tech Rattlesnakes surviving the bloodbath in the Mountain Division. The conference championship will be an easy W for the Lake Oswego Ironmen over the Colorado Tech Rattlesnakes. While one does not show a lot of parity, while the other is crazy, it should lead to some interesting football games this season.